Okay, we'll get started. But I did want to mention that I want to start doing these every other week if we can, at least once a month. But if maybe if we can squeeze these in on the weeks that we don't have our team meeting, we can do a leaders meeting. Um, if we can find a day that we can get, I know people do work during the day, so I know it's hard, but morning or afternoon, if we could find that. But if not, we can work more on the evenings if a lot of the leaders want to chime in on these. So we'll get something worked out. We'll talk about it on our chat and figure it out. But I wanted to mention that I want these meetings to be completely honest. I know myself, I don't feel I'm the best leader for my level ones. So I want you guys to be honest. Like if I ask a question or if a question comes up, don't feel like you need to twist it a little bit and make it sound like you work harder. I'm not going to twist it. I want it to be a learning process for all of us. And, you know, if something Lee does benefit me, then just because I'm a leader doesn't mean I can't learn. So I want us all to be honest and not feel ashamed about how we work our business, and let this be a process that can help us along the way. We're all leaders for a reason, so we can all learn from each other. But the only thing that I really want to talk about is that Dodie and I talked about starting in January doing monthly new ambassador trainings like we used to have when we all started. I think we're going to go ahead and try to find a location for January, February, March, and April, possibly May. Go ahead and book them all the way out so that we have a date on the calendar. I want it to be possibly the last Friday of every month. That way every ambassador knows that's going to be when we have it at 7 o'clock in the evening. That way when somebody signs a new ambassador, they can say, okay, well, the last Friday of every month we have a meeting. We might change up the location, but we'll let it be known. So January will be this spot, February will be this spot, March, May, whatever. We'll have it already planned out so every ambassador knows it, and they can go ahead and let their new ambassadors know. I think if we do it at the end of the month, it will help us all those new ambassadors that join that month and kickstart their new month, kickstart the next month and have them ready to go. I kind of want to discuss maybe what we can really be going over at these monthly meetings. I also want to make sure that we kind of keep it in a time frame, like an hour time frame if we can. I know it's hard to stick to that hour because we get going and we get excited and we talk. But if you're going to have a plan of about an hour that we need to think out at these meetings and have leaders there to help with the meeting as well. So I want to hear what you guys think we should talk about. I want it to be new ambassador goal in mind. What do you guys think?
I think I have a lot of people mentioned lately about how they would like to have more training on how to get a new ambassador started. So maybe we could do maybe like 3 or 4 or 5 top tips on like how to get your ambassador started off on the right track. And then also, I mean, the success plan has the 4-week outline of things you need to do. So I think if people would just open up the success plan, that would guide them to what they need to do. So I think if we can encourage them to really use the success plan, we've got the great emails in there. I know a lot of the products and stuff have changed and haven't been updated yet, but the email templates and the new ambassador things and the 3-way call stuff, all of that is in there. And so why should we have to reinvent the wheel when our leaders before us have already gone and this is what works for them? So why don't we just make sure we really incorporate those things into like our new ambassador trainings, and just let them know, hey, just open up that success plan. Everything is right there for you to use.
Yeah, I think the first meeting, like January, y'all should really, really implement that success plan. Mm-hmm. Like that, January, y'all should do the whole meeting pretty much on the success plan. And even if there's new people there, they need to know to use the success plan too. And then once they're told kind of to use the success plan, then maybe by February, you can implement a little bit of success plan and then like little things y'all think the team needs training on.
Right.
I think I had noted that I thought even as a team, we need to talk about the success plan. We haven't talked about it in months.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. So, and I think that a lot of people, we have a lot of newbies that don't know anything about it. We even have new ambassadors that are leaders that don't even know about it. So, or, they know about it, but they don't
Use it.
Not using it.
Yeah.
Well, and I have to be honest, I don't use the success plan. I mean, it wasn't there when I first started, and I'm kind
But
of
you already used everything that's in there, Lee. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't use it, but you use it.
yeah, you're right. But I guess what I'm saying is, even though I send it to new ambassadors and stuff, I guess I just don't push it.
Right.
And I see ambassadors asking the same thing. It's like you were just saying, if they would just open it, I guess I'm guilty of not saying, hey, everything that you need is right there. Because I see people saying on our team, I know you saw Holly saying, we need scripts. Well, those scripts are right there in the success plan. So
And that's what got me thinking this morning. I was like, they're all amazing scripts in the success plan. You can copy, paste, type it up. It's awesome. So that's really what got me thinking, I really think that we need to focus on, even like you were saying, Lee, like we have dropped the ball on really getting that implemented. So I think if we can really start focusing on that in January and just continue it throughout the year, I think people will start to pick up on it.
I know Anna had made a comment about wanting to get together with me and like putting together some kind of little packet or book or something to hand out to every single new ambassador. I'm definitely willing to sit down and brainstorm and figure out if there's something that we can put together. I did point her back in that direction of the success plan. So, we have a success plan. I guess we can go with that, So I think you're right. I think we just really need to reiterate that. And
yeah. I agree too. I think we, I email it to all my new ambassadors on my team, but that doesn't mean necessarily print it out and look at it. But I think too, like she was saying, if we could print something out, and I've even heard that suggested many times, print this out for your new ambassadors. I think it won't be so much you do it for your level ones and Anna does it for her level ones. You don't feel like you're having to do it for everybody, and that way everybody has their hand in it. And so I think that would make it easier too.
Well, I know, Cheryl, you went and had those printed a year or so ago at one of the office places, because I remember I got one from you. It was like $10 or something?
It wasn't even I don't know, was it, Angel, do you remember?
I'm trying to think.
I don't think
they weren't that expensive, but you had them printed on like thick paper and binded, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did it together.
I mean, it's worth it, and just use 2 stamps and mail it to everybody. I would use it more if it was printed. That's how I work. Like that's how I used to work when I worked, was with documents rather than the internet.
Yeah.
I think it's a good investment for sure.
Yeah, I think if we can get more people to understand, it takes $5 to get an ambassador started, and I feel like we've got to stop putting so much on social media as far as send them or emails. So much electronic stuff. It's like send them the email. I think you should send the email, but I think whatever you put in the email as far as your documents that you suggest for your new ambassadors, print them out and mail them that packet as well. Maybe you can print out your email and put it in the pack. I mean, you're talking one large envelope. You can buy a box of those. The success guide, you print out the little things. If you don't have a printer, Staples is not that expensive at all. And you can go pick it up within a So I think if we can get people to take that extra step when they have a new ambassador, I think where we lose them is when they're a new ambassador and we push them to go silver, and they go silver and then they're still new. And they're like, I don't know what to do here. So I think that's where some of the communication gets lost.
Yeah, I agree. I think it goes to picking up the phone and calling them, like telling them, you can message them all this stuff, but say, hey, I want to get on the call. I'll call with you like this week.
Yeah.
Like if you're a brand new ambassador and you sign somebody up, get your sponsor on the phone. Like I really think that's another thing where we are dropping the ball, is we're not getting with our new ambassadors. We're not figuring out what they're expecting out of this. We're not figuring out where they're wanting to go. So we're all clueless. And I think if we can get on the phone and really implement these 3-way calls as well, starting in January, that everybody will be more understanding and understand what everybody's wanting out of this. We can help our new ambassadors see the vision, it's easier to explain things on the phone or getting on a Zoom chat like this. That's what I did this morning. I got on a call with Chris on her new ambassador, and we probably talked for an hour, and it's just, we could answer questions, and I think she felt a lot more comfortable after she got off that call. So I think we should really push that as well.
I agree.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, which I don't know if it was something that I talked about with Dodie in our other meeting or if we talked about it in our big meeting, but we forget that people learn in different ways.
Right.
So sometimes just giving the information, they don't receive it, but sometimes hearing it, they can receive it. Sometimes reading it, they can receive it. So I think it's remembering that you've got to give it to them in different forms to make sure that they are retaining the information. Because for me, if you send me an email, I'm going to skim it, but I'm not going to click on those documents, and I'm not going to take the time to really look over it. And I think for me, it's a hearing thing. If I can hear it and, talking about it allows me to retain the information.
Yeah, I think too, if you could say, like when they first sign up, hey, let's get on a call this week, you can really tell who's serious about it by who says, yes, let me mark out some time in my schedule. I want to get on the phone with you, rather than somebody who keeps putting it off and keeps putting it off. That person's really not serious. So you kind of can tell from there who you need to spend your time on and who you don't too. So.
Yeah.
With the whole new ambassador packet thing, I did with a couple of my ambassadors, I actually gave them a packet of information that had, it didn't have the whole success plan in it, but it had things like that document that says, this is what this product targets and this is what that's for. And it had the price list and the description, and it had the comp plan in it. If you mail those things, that's a lot of information for them to have on hand. Mm-hmm. They don't necessarily have to absorb it all at once. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They can read it, whenever they want to, but it's not getting filed into, their inbox somewhere. You know what I mean? It's not getting lost in cyberspace. But also, when you mail all those things, all that stuff is tax deductible too, because it's a business. So it you think about, it's going to cost this much, it's going to cost that much. Yeah, you have to wait until January to get your tax return back. But, in the end, it's not going to cost you anything.
But if you really think about it, too, if we can put it to where you've got a new ambassador who purchases a welcome pack, they get started, you're getting $25 for them to sign up. Take that $25 and invest back into that ambassador. Send them that package, print it out for them. You're really still going to have a profit there. It's not going to cost you $25 to get all that stuff done. Another thing I was just thinking is maybe if we can sit down, maybe one time we have this meeting, we sit down with this success guide, go page by page and say, let's mark page 3, 7, 9, 14, 15, 16, mark it with a little tab. If we all know that in advance and we tell our new ambassador, go through and mark these specific pages with those little tags and let your ambassador know that for month 1, these are the only ones that you should really focus on, and then we'll get to the other pages once it's time. But if we can have that, because I think too, we get wrapped up in the fact that we hand them this book. This book has however many pages, and they're like, ugh, what page do I start on? What do I look at? That can also be an excuse to just set it aside and think I'm going to come back to it. So maybe if we can have certain pages that we feel are the most important for them to get started.
I think when you're doing that first phone call or Zoom call, like Dodie said with them, and that's when you mark the pages, I think once they've skimmed through it with you, they're not just going to lay it to the side. They're going to continue to skim through it every time a question comes up once they realize what all is in the document.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. And they know where to go to look. And that's a good idea too, Cheryl, with if we do decide that we want to do something for our January meeting, sit down and say, this is huge for getting started. We can figure out which pages pertain to really getting them started, and we could print those out, and maybe instead of giving them this whole success plan, we could just give them maybe 5 or 6 pages of just the really important stuff to kind of help them out too.
Yeah, I think we could suggest either way. I think we could suggest that they either print these specific pages or they can print the whole thing for them right off the bat. And they have those little page tabs that stick in and you can flip to that page. Whatever is best for that specific ambassador. Later, you don't have to send them the whole success guide, or you don't know when they're going to need the whole success guide. But I think that's definitely something that we need to talk about and start back on. I think it would.
And maybe too, if we're going to do that in January, maybe each one of us can print so many copies to bring to the January meeting. That way we could actually physically hand them to them there at the meeting.
Yeah. I know some of people work as teachers. I tried to use our machine at Shelton, and they were like, nope, teachers only. So I know at Shelton they have like this machine that it binds for you, or it cuts it for you. You know, it has all the, like if it was a spiral, it would have it would cut all that.
Mm-hmm.
So some of those they may even be able to do that. But again, Staples was not that expensive at all to be able to print for everybody.
I think if we do the first initial bunch of them, then they'll be the ones to do like their own level ones. Like if we go and print 50 of them, or however many people are going to come to your meeting, then if we can get the 4 of us, or get however many leaders can get together and bind those for them at Staples, just make it easy so no one has to do it themselves, and pass them out at the meeting, and just let them know how much it costs, and that every time a new ambassador joins, it's kind of expected of them to print one for that ambassador.
Yeah. I mean, they don't have to bind it. I mean, I think binding is really not that expensive. You could even get one of the 3-prong folders.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're like $1, if that.
Punch some holes in it and stick it in a binder. I mean,
However they want to,
yeah.
So
I kind of
let's
like the
have a
idea of the
question.
folder thing, because it would kind of keep it all like together and covered and everything. You know, it's like
You can probably find, buy in bulk those clear. You can get the plastic clear front so that the front of it shows the name of it, and just hole punch it and stick it in there.
Yeah. I mean, you could do that, or like those the cheap, really cheap school folders that have pockets with a 3-prong in the front or in the middle. You can write. You can either print a sticker that says Success Guide on the front. You can write it, whatever. And then they have the pockets that they could put any kind of information that they get from there. I mean, that's super cheap. It really is. You're probably talking 50 cents for one of those folders, really. And then to print, like I said, about $5 once you print. Some of you guys have printers yourself. That you wouldn't even have to pay for it. But remember, if you do print at home, your ink you pay the receipt. You can keep your taxes as well. But all right, so we definitely want to start doing a lot more with the Success Guide, getting it in their hands as fast as we can, and I think it would be important for us to go through and decide as a new ambassador which ones they need to focus on so that they're not overwhelmed. Another thing I think that we somehow have to figure out is product training. None of us are very good at that. I mean, none of us are. You can't ask me, what does Chromium do? I might know, a little, but I'm not going to know a lot. And the ingredients, that's not my thing. I don't keep up with the ingredients. I just know it works. I know it works for this, this, and this. I don't know how it works. So I think somehow getting some product training in, I don't know. This is where I get lost because, again, I don't know a lot about it. But I think a lot of people hold back because they don't know a lot about it. So they're like, I don't want to commit because I don't know if they come back with a question, I'm not going to have the answer. So I think somehow getting in some product training.
I think so too, Cheryl. Those first few meetings that I came to when I first started were invaluable to me because there was a lot of product training going on when I first joined. And I learned a lot just by sitting and listening in those first few meetings. I think the other thing too that we could do for our new ambassadors is to go in and print out that detail ingredient list for them. Because that's another way that I learned really well, was sitting there and just taking one product at a time and just really reading over those ingredients. Now, like you, I can't, just spout off what every ingredient does. But that's the starting point, I think, and it was very helpful for me.
You know what? One of the I don't have a good memory, and one of the best things that I can remember about our meetings was the meeting that we had where each table had a specific product, and they worked as a group to talk about the product and figure out certain things that were good about that product, and then they presented the product to the group. That's one of the biggest things I can remember.
Yeah. I was about to say the same thing. Like when we
interactive,
all did kind of product, and then also, I don't know if it was that same meeting or a different meeting. It was kind of similar where we did products and benefits. Like we had little small testimonies where you would say like such and such stuff, fibromyalgia, achy joints, blah, blah, blah. Which products would you recommend for this person? So I love that too, because it helps people feel more comfortable with, what products help with what health issues. So I think that would be good as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. That meeting particularly stands out to me as well.
Mm-hmm. So I think if we could do, do something similar to like that in our monthly team trainings, if it worked for us, I think that everybody else will really enjoy that too.
That's a really good idea. Right now in the DVR group with Bridget going day by day with each product. Sorry. She's going day by day with each product, and she's having everyone post like information that they find about, each one. And you don't necessarily have to go through all of them like one right after the other, but maybe a couple times a month, say, okay, today we're going to go over this product. And then once you get through them, start all over again, because so many people join, so maybe do it every now and then, and not just like right now, do all of them at once. You know what I mean? Just kind of keep that conversation going about the products consistently, but not necessarily like on top of each other.
Right. I'm trying to think, like, what products are the main ones? For me, it's always Traflex. That's just what I focus on. But I don't know, like 1 week talk about Plexus Slim, 1 week talk about BioCleanse. But I know a lot of people also put a lot of emphasis on this Slim and Accelerator, the Slim and Boost. So it's like finding that. I think we've talked again about me trying to be too perfect. So I'm like trying to figure out the perfect thing, and I get so wrapped up in that I forget that eating information is important. But the only reason I haven't posted those, and I plan to post those in January, is I know all the leaders have talked about before that just because I see it 30 times doesn't mean everybody on the team does. But because I see it so much, I don't want to sit there and copy it again, because I think, well, you guys are all seeing it. And I know, Dodie, I don't know if you're sharing that with your team. I know Stephanie's sharing that with her team. I'm not positive if you're sharing that with your team. But I feel I'm in this rut because I have you guys that are good leaders and have your team pages that I'm like, what do I share? Because I'm seeing it from Angel. I'm seeing it from Bridget. I'm seeing it from Tamra. I don't pay attention to Lisa's page as much, so I'm not positive she's so. You guys will sometimes need to say, hey, will you share this on our team page? Lee, I love when you share things because it helps me to see that, okay, so they're seeing this from Lee. They're seeing it from Dodie. I love when you guys post things because, again, I always feel like I'm copying everybody's stuff. So whenever you guys post things to our page, I love it. So thank you, Lee. I do really appreciate when you post things. So that I do want to share that kind of stuff. I don't know if I'll change it up. I wanted to start it in January to kind of kick off the new year with something. But I think finding out, because the thing is when we go to these meetings, and I do it even with our weekly meetings, I feel like I have so much to talk about that I don't know what to talk about. And then it turns into an hour and a half of talking about products. Products you can talk about forever. So it's like trying to figure out, if we talk about Slim and ProBio and Cleanse the first meeting in January, but we don't talk about them in February, the people that started in February don't hear it. So that's where I get lost. I don't know what to talk about and how to make it where everybody gets the right information.
Well,
I'm sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say, I really liked it when we were getting other team members involved and letting them do their own little thing each week. Like I did one on building belief, and I think Deanna did one on something else. Because I think that helps get them more involved and they feel like they're taking part in the training. So I think maybe we should incorporate something like that next year too.
Yeah, I love that. And me and Cheryl was actually talking last night about really getting the leaders on our team at our monthly team meetings to really participate and maybe get up and share something, whether it's their testimony or, maybe they want to talk about a certain topic. We could let them talk about that too, but just putting the ball in their court and giving them that responsibility, I think that will also help to build their confidence. So, and I think it takes a little bit of pressure off of Cheryl and off of me and off of some of us who thought we were always doing stuff all the time. It kind of helps them to do that. So I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's empowering them. You know, I think back to that presentation that Tamara did at convention. You have, you know, that's one of the things, you have to empower your people, and that's one way of doing it. So
Yeah.
How do you feel about, like, for our Zoom meetings? And I wouldn't mind doing this at all if some of us stepped up and, like, you know, for the first one of us, you know, researched Slim and all, you know, what the main ingredients are and the benefits. And then we had kind of a, like, almost like a little blurb about, hey, this is the product focus for this Zoom meeting. And then we went on with whatever training. So that way, you know, they're hearing from us about the products and not necessarily just YouTube videos or just, you know, the testimonies and things like that.
Children's Benadryl.
I like that.
You can ask.
yeah, I think it's a good idea.
But I muted you, by the way. So I had thought about the products on the Zoom training. So I wonder if maybe in January, there's only like 4 weeks, but maybe we start back on a weekly thing, but making each week a product, a focus on a product and somebody different each week. One of the reasons that we went to 2 every other week was not as many people getting on and really not really knowing what to talk about, because when I get stuck on that I've already said it, I forget that people didn't hear it. For me, I'm like, this is repeat. But for the people that are receiving it, then they're enjoying that they're hearing it. But for me, I'm like, I've said this like 30 times, so I feel like I'm on repeat, but I know you guys don't hear it on repeat.
Well, too, not only, I mean, the activity as far as joining the meeting may be down, but, you know, a lot of people really rely on those recorded things to go back and watch when they're available to watch it. So I think, even though we think maybe, okay, everybody's not interested in, I don't think that not necessarily be the case at all. They just can't get on at that time. So
yeah. So maybe if we can look into, and I think we would need to set it up now so that people have time to educate themselves, but find somebody who talk about Slim, somebody who talk about probiotics, so on and so on, and start that in January and make it a weekly thing. Do you think that it needs to be a Zoom where it's interactive and we can ask questions, or do you think it could almost be a recorded? Amanda talks about Slim the first week of January. She records it, we share it. Or does it need to be where they can interact and ask questions?
I think either way would be good.
Me too.
Because I think if we can do more recorded things, it's easier on, like if Amanda she wants to talk about Slim, but she can't come on that Tuesday. Some nights are not good. I mean, it doesn't matter. It could be Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night. There's going to be 50% people that can't make it on those Tuesday nights. So
I think recorded is good, but I think if you also can try to get as many people on as possible, because they're going to ask more questions if they're able to interact. And I feel like if you say, here's a recorded message, watch it at your convenience, there's 75% of the chance not going to watch it. But if they know they need to be on the call, then they're going to be on and they're going to take in more information.
Yeah, that's right.
So even if you have to change it, like say instead of every week it's at 9 o'clock on Tuesday or whatever, every other week change it to morning or midday or a different night of the week.
Or here's another idea just to throw out there. You could have a recorded call and say, okay, here's the recorded call on this product. Your job is to watch this recording, and then on such and such time, we're going to get on Zoom and we're going to talk about it.
That's
That's good.
That's a good idea.
At first I thought, well, we could do recorded products throughout the month or whatever, the last Tuesday of every month we questions on that. But then I thought we could either keep it where we have every other week we talk about the recordings or whatever. We can definitely, I think that would be good. I think if we can record the information, that way if one product takes 20 minutes to discuss, then, it's not cutting into our Zoom time because we do only have a certain amount of time.
Right.
And I don't want to keep everybody 9:30. Sometimes our meetings don't start till 9:30. So 9:30, and then it's 10:30, and then whew, we got to keep going. Come back into the Zoom because we're not done talking. So yeah, I think if maybe we can set up people to educate a little bit on products, set up a recording for those, and then we can come back and have it where we discuss them in the meeting. It may be one of those things that we have to do an incentive to watch the product. I get caught up in the fact that, in a sense, like some of these people need to have the incentive to make more money, not versus me giving you something for it. You know what I mean? So that's where I also get caught up with the incentives. I think the incentives are great. I love incentives, but I also want people to not expect things all the time. And I think some people we get so wrapped up in those incentives that we do them so much that when we don't do them, people are like, oh, well, there's not an incentive.
Yeah, I'll wait till there's an incentive.
Yeah, and it's they also lose their own motivation because they got so motivated by the incentive that they don't really know how to do it without having an incentive. So that's where I come in with the incentive. But I think a lot of people need that extra push, so it's figuring out what that push is that they need, what we can do to get them on the Zoom. I think getting them on the Zooms and getting them to those meetings, for some reason, is more successful. I know for me, like, I can listen to a recording, but if I'm not, I guess it's more of a distraction. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm just listening. Nobody knows I'm not paying attention. I might look over. I might listen to my boys. But if I'm on a Zoom and I'm interacting, I make sure my boys are upstairs. I mean, so it's more accountability, I guess. So trying to get people on the Zooms will be key. But yeah, I'm gonna note down to record those and get those set up for January. And maybe some of the smaller products, maybe we can do those on one recording. Have either somebody talk about ProBio and somebody talk about Cleanse, but on the same recording, whatever ones are the smaller ones to talk about. Anything you guys are having current issues with? Science back office.
Hey, they finally put Sarah on my team.
Oh, that's great.
Until October. I've been waiting.
Anything your teams seem to be asking a lot of questions about? Amanda, you're shaking no because your team don't ask me nothing.
No. If they would ask questions, I would be happy. I'm like, all 15 of you. You're so quiet.
We have less than a minute, so. Anything at all? Good. All right. Well, I will mention all this stuff, and I'll actually share this recording for the leaders to see, and we can watch it if they have time. But we'll look at the success plan and the products.
Perfect.
All right. Thanks, Angel.
Yep, I didn't know.
You were there.